experience the magic of James Taylor live in concert. Don't miss out on seeing the legendary singer-songwriter along with his all-star band when they take the stage at Hexel Energy Center on June 17th. Tickets go on sale this Friday at 10 a.m. Get all the details now at KFAN.com, keyword calendar.
Ben Goessling at Ben Goessling via the X Machine. He's a weekly guest, 9 to noon, covers the Minnesota Vikings for the Star Tribune, StarTribune.com. We have newsletters, we have podcasts, we have YouTubes, we have trips to Flowery Branch, and you come for the stories and stay for Standard Heating and Air and StandardHeating.com. Good morning.
Good morning.
What happened with the O'Connell one-word answer? I'm not, and I purposely did not go back and read up on it.
Yeah.
You asked the question.
Yep.
There was a one-word answer. I heard it on Barrero yesterday.
Yeah.
But I don't know the context or what the question was.
Yeah.
Because I wanted to be caught off guard here, and good morning.
Good morning. Yeah. So I asked him, because he talked about this a little bit on Sunday, of how a moment like Sam Darnold at the end of the game where he's waving the towel and everybody's chanting MVP was a product of all of the work that he puts in this building that people don't see, and all of the effort that he's put in to earn the trust of his teammates to play at this level. And O'Connell said, that's part of the reason I'm so proud of him, is that a moment like that is something of a validation of everything he's done to this point.
So Kevin said that.
Kevin said this about Sam.
Kevin used the word validation.
I can't remember exactly.
Okay.
We can check the transcript later.
Well, that's a big word.
Yeah,
a key word.
Yeah, so he said, he talked about all of this stuff, and so then I mentioned that, the last question of the press conference, I said, you talked about Sam in that regard, but do you also see this as a similar vindication or validation? I think I use the word validation, whatever. Yep. Of the approach that the front office took and the coaching staff took, saying we are going to let the guy that we built this system with, the guy that's been the quarterback for 6 years, walk out the door and replace him with a quarterback that had signed on a one-year deal and trust that we can make all of this work. Do you see any of this as an affirmation of the approach that you used beyond just Sam? And it was a long enough question that he had time to kind of process it and smile and prepare it, and he just goes, no.
Wow.
And
no follow-up.
No follow-up.
No, that was it?
Yeah, well, that was the last question of the press conference. So
the average time of his response is 1 minute and 32 and a half seconds.
Yeah.
That's the average time over the years.
Yeah.
And you got a 0.9 second one.
I shot 67 at the U.S. Open, where they want you to shoot par, essentially. I mean, getting a one-word answer out of Kevin O'Connell is a lot harder than getting a one-word answer out of Mike Zimmer. And he smiled, and he walked off and said, I was ready to say no. He said, it was a very eloquent question, though, and Kevin Seifert made some kind of noise about, well, come on, why don't you give us a little more than that? And then it was interesting yesterday, he talked a little bit in his press conference, kind of getting back around to it and just talking about the process that they use and why he likes this part of the job, that you are seeing guys develop and you're helping guys get to this point in their careers. And so he said, winning games is the most important thing, but moments like that are little wins for the development process and what they've used too. So, I mean, it was one of those things where he probably wasn't going to answer it in a live press conference setting with a microphone.
Yeah.
I thought the fact that he smiled and just said no was awfully telling in and of itself. So it was kind of a funny moment.
You are a multiple decade scribe.
I guess I am at this point.
We're getting close, right?
Yeah. It's 13 years, so I suppose, yeah.
Oh, well, no, overall. Let's go back to the Ratty Natties. Ratty Natties. The whole thing, okay?
They were very ratty,
yeah,
yes.
Strasburg, Sorum, Drew
Storen.
Yeah, Storen, thank you.
Harper, the teams that were bad enough to get those players.
Okay, 3-2. So as a multiple decade scribe, Is this still the case where like an old schooler learns something every single year of the job? And here's what I mean. I'm not disrespecting you at all.
Sure.
You know I love you. But we have, occasionally we have those background things with the head coach.
Yeah.
It's all off the record, not even insinuations or anything.
Yeah.
Would that have been a question for there?
It's probably one that you're going to get a different answer to there.
Well, the answer, I'm frustrated.
Yeah.
Because you asked that thing in the background. We get 4 minutes of the greatest meat, juice, au jus we've ever had in our lives. Wow.
Yeah. Well,
now it's all dead.
Well, maybe not. We might be able to.
Why do you think he answered it like that?
Because I think if he says, yes, it's a validation of it, it says a couple of things. Number one, they spent the entire week trying not to dump on Kirk and make it seem like, we're better off without him. I think there was an effort to honor what he had done, and those two obviously are very close. So I think a lot of what he was trying to do was avoid dunking on the previous quarterback. So it could have been read that way. And then I also think it's probably trying to avoid saying this is about us and our ability to do this with whoever walks through this building. He's trying to keep it focused on Sam Darnold and keep it focused on the players. Mm-hmm. So I think that was one of those things where it was an effort to avoid the second and third level readings into it that would have come if he elaborated on it. So I thought it was an interesting choice typically he'll at least answer the question.
Excellent question. A fair question.
Yeah. And it was interesting just to see kind of the way he went with it. Cause I think a lot of it was, I'm not going here in this setting.
Well, the smile tells the 90 seconds versus
sure does.
Versus the response, right? Yep. So in some ways you got exactly out of it, even if it's somewhat direct and so that was probably the best way for him to handle it.
The one word answer probably said more. It was very Zim in the sense that the one word answer and the pause sometimes tells you everything you need to know versus the longer answer that kind of dances around what he really is trying to say.
Which inherently means, as the worm turns, that if only for 13 seconds you were Chris Thomason.
Yes. Yeah, that's probably true.
Well, how did you, question, no. Like, what did you say after that? Like, okay. Like, what'd you do?
Well, so he walks off.
Because you're poised.
Yeah, he walks off and says something about, I was ready for that no the whole time. And he goes, it was a very eloquent question, though. And I just said, thank you. And I think I said something about, I think when the mic shut off, you can hear that in the end of the audio, but when the mic shut off, I said something like, we'll come back to that one at some point.
Well, the key difference with Thomason, though, is he would have prefaced the question, we saw the interceptions today, and we've seen now his lack of mobility post Achilles.
Yeah.
And so clearly this is just another spot where you guys made the right decision to cut a guy before it was too late, right?
Probably something like that.
That would have been a Thomason preface. I love the Thomason prefaces.
I mean, some of it with the Thomason questions was not the question itself. It was what the question represents, if I could play it that way.
Yeah.
It was a long time of just, the little drips. Him and Zim, it was
a shoe size contest between the two every Monday after a game where the only good news for me from the Vikings losing was hearing the give and take after the game and then Monday.
Yeah, there was a lot of that. And I think it just added up over the years where even if the question was fair and even if the question was good, it was the person asking it that was going to get that type of response.
Well, with Chains, with Kirk, tell me if you agree with this. If that game is not at U.S. Bank Stadium, he gets pulled and we see Michael Penix.
I think that's possible. I mean, I thought it was very interesting last week. So when I went down there, Matt Ryan had just gone on CBS and said, if he's bad through the first half, I would think about pulling him. He said he should start at U.S. Bank Stadium, given this defense, given what they're facing. It's a tough spot for a rookie, but if it's bad, you make the change. And it certainly wasn't bad enough at that point in the game. But I wonder after that second pick, when it gets to 3 scores.
Oh, I ain't saying it's because he was overly bad. I'm saying because it's a 3-score game.
Right.
And, you don't want that contract hit.
Yeah, yes. But, two of those things probably go together in a sense of it's a 3-score game in part because of the turnovers. And, Darnold was also great. That goes into a lot of it as well. But I do wonder about that and how much longer the leash will be, because you did hear Raheem Morris say, Kirk's the quarterback, but we're looking at everything or looking at what's going to help us get the best chance to win, and Kirk is part of that. He said yesterday he's going to start. against the Raiders. But another bad one, I wonder, I mean, if they get too far out of this thing, I wonder if it goes there. It's tough.
Well, that's the key, right? Just being a game back?
Yeah, I think that's part of it. And you don't want to probably drop a rookie in the middle of a playoff race. But one of the things that I thought was interesting, in talking to a few people down there, Matt Ryan and Arthur Blank still talk quite a bit. And Matt Ryan obviously was the quarterback, the face of that team for a long time. So if he is coming out and saying that on CBS, and maybe that's just a TV take to get some headlines and get some interest and get people talking about it on the radio. Saying. I'm just wondering if he either has intel or if he's saying that same thing to people in charge of that organization. Because I mean, it's just an interesting kind of thing to file away.
The Bucks, or excuse me, the Falcons, they can go beat the Raiders this weekend.
Yeah.
And the Bucks, who are at the Chargers, can lose,
and they're back in.
So this is a monumental decision to make, given the volatility of this super mediocre NFC South. That's the only reason. I mean, in the Minnesota connection as well. I think that's why they don't go to Penix.
Yeah,
and that's the only thing holding it there is how close things are.
Well, and you have to look at it probably. I mean, this is similar to the Vikings in the sense that it's about the development for Penix. It's not this game of who is the better quarterback in this moment. I don't think. Yeah. It's what is the best spot for Michael Penix to come in and be ready to succeed and not give the job back or not kind of regress? And is the middle of a playoff race the time to do that when you have people that have been counting on this season and people that are saying, hey, we have a chance to go do something here?
Yeah.
That's a tough spot to put a rookie in the middle of a playoff race. So it may be as much about that as it is a referendum or not on Kirk Cousins at the moment.
And for the most part, that Falcons team we witnessed over the weekend with Bijan Robinson and some things they can do defensively, maybe against non-Vikings related teams. I mean, they can absolutely go to Vegas and win. However, do consider this. The Las Vegas Raiders quarterback is going to be former Falcon Desmond Ridder.
Yeah.
So now they go from what O'Connell and his staff did to Raheem Morris and his staff should be felonious in 48 states.
Yeah.
All right. They were together with the Rams. I ran it up on you in practice, and I'm about ready to do it again. Not that that ever was said, but you know what I'm talking about here, how these people think and talk behind the scenes. And now, so the Falcons think they're out of this meat grinder, Cousins coming back to Minnesota, whole thing, until they get to Vegas and see Desmond Ridder.
Yeah, there's going to be, it's 2 weeks in a row of some of those things. And the last time they won, I believe, was against Mike Zimmer in Dallas. So there's lots of the old Kirk kind of
the degrees
threads to this thing. Yes, I'm making you spill out your coffee over here.
No, you mentioned Zimmer, and I'm thinking of last night, and of course, if you need a linebacker, because somebody got hurt, let's go get Nick Vigil.
Yeah,
I know what he looks like.
Yeah,
he played with us for 5 seconds. Let's go get him. Then he blocks the punt.
Yeah,
and they're in business to win 3 in a row.
Yeah.
But they don't.
Yeah,
I mean, it's just crazy what's happening.
Burrow drives down at the last minute and beats the corner.
After I saw this on Twitter, after Dallas games, Jerry Jones is the one who does the first press conference.
Yeah,
I knew he spoke after every game, but generally the bits you see are only when he says something that's weird or something that's loud. And it's always out by like the buses or it's in the corridors. I'm like, okay, well, he does it every game, but they kind of got to wait. The scribe's got to wait somewhere. So, but he is the first one to speak before McCarthy. Oh, wow.
That's a tough spot to
That's unbelievable. Well, that's never happened. I bet you it's the only time it's happened in the history of sports, right?
Well, and it wouldn't happen anywhere else. Wow. I mean, I think that's one of those things where it's like, okay, if you're the coach, you're like, this is just part of it.
So if you want to know if the new school Jeff Overbaugh went to the wrong guy so Vigil could get through and block it, you want to ask the coach. You don't want to ask the general manager who's not analyzing punt block long snapper play on a daily basis.
Yes, agreed. Wow. And you've saved those questions for that. But yes, it's I'm sure it's a very unique dynamic covering that team for a lot of reasons, but that's certainly a big one of them.
If the Minnesota Vikings hook the NFC South in the first round of the playoffs, Atlanta is greatly preferred over Tampa Bay, correct?
I would agree with that, yes. Well, I think defensively, Tampa Bay can do some more things. That we've seen that in the past. We saw that last year. Yeah, I think that's a tougher matchup than Atlanta would be, and I think it's probably, Baker Mayfield is just playing at a higher level right now than Kirk Cousins is. And I think that team has more ability to probably hold its own. I think both of those games are winnable, but yes, I would agree that Cousins in a playoff setting against this defense is a better one than Mayfield. And I also think the Falcons defense, even though they got some pressure on Sunday, I think that is a team that you can attack, and the Vikings certainly did it. If you're sitting here saying, which one do I want? I'd say, the team that the quarterback threw 5 touchdowns against is probably not a bad matchup to ask for.
And there will be enough time removed from December 8th.
Right.
Well, not really. I mean, it's about a month.
Yeah.
So, I mean, there still can be prisoner of the moment terrorism here with what you saw. Hey, of course it's automatically going to happen again, which it won't. But, I mean, I think the Vikings would be a 65-70% chance winner on the road at Mercedes-Benz against Atlanta. It came up a little bit yesterday, 9 to noon. It's Bowles can coach defense. I mean, he can really, really call defense no matter what his personnel is. Antoine Winfield Jr., assuming he's healthy. I'd much prefer Atlanta if that's the scenario.
I think that's right. I think that's probably the better draw.
With Ben Goessling at Ben Goessling via the tweet machine, courtesy of standardheating.com, Standard Heating and Air, standardheating.com. When I was crafting the O'Connell questions yesterday and thinking about what's coming up with you, it's more so for O'Connell. It's just hard to talk about the Bears right now.
Yeah.
It's just so bad. I mean, it's you make a move and you don't want to make that move. And Eberflus had fans and friends within the locker room. Nobody's hearing from him now.
Yeah.
You're only hearing from the off the record. Tevin Jenkins didn't even go off the record. He's like, yeah, this is a welcome change. So it's just so
Jalen
hot.
Johnson.
Jalen Johnson too. It's so hot and it's percolating where it's about ready to boil over. Now I just heard the Niners had 300 some odd first half yards. The Bears only had 4.
Yeah.
I mean, I saw 14 first downs for the Niners, 1 for the Bears. I'm like, that's cute. I didn't know they only had 4 yards. Yeah. So, I mean, this thing is so bad right now. It's tough to talk about.
Yeah, it is. And it's one of those things where they are far enough out of it that you start to wonder how much, and players are competing for jobs next year. They're competing for jobs on other teams. But how much, if a game is tight, is that extra bit that you need to say, let's go get this done because it matters for this team this season versus, you know what? I don't want to lay out and get myself hurt at this point because that's going to mean rehab into the offseason.
Wow.
I mean, when those decisions
decisions in early to mid-December.
Well, I wonder about that a little just because you do start to, and some of that may be premature because they may be saying, hey, we like Thomas Brown. We want to play for him. Mm-hmm. We want to set him up for success. And there could be enough reinvigoration from that. But that effort against the 49ers, they looked outmatched enough that I don't know how much of that is there. And realistically, in the NFC right now, there's no path for them to come back. I mean, they're so far back in the standings, and there's so many teams. I mean, heck, you've got the Vikings with 11 wins as the top wild card. The Packers are at 9, I think, and they're the 6th seed. And then I think the Commanders are a little more vulnerable, but you'd have to make up so much ground that it's hard to probably envision a scenario where players are saying, hey, we got a shot here. Let's go give it everything we have for this. So, yeah, I think it is a tough one for the people in that building to try to hold together. It's not an enviable situation for Thomas Brown to come into, but we see this every year with some team, and somebody's got to try to figure it out, and they're in that spot right now.
The LA Rams are topsy-turvy. However, that's the one where if it gets in, and this Kobe White on the line with Kobe Turner, thank you. Kobe Bryant had the pick 6 for 3-2 for the Seahawks when they played Kirk O'Chains, right? Yeah.
Yep.
All right, 3-2. With the youth they have on their defense, the fact McVay knows how to coach in situations like that, and he's poised, he's calm. And then obviously Stafford and those receivers and stuff. I mean, that could be a team that gets in with a losing record or a 500-ish record, 9-8, 8-9, and has a puncher's chance to get all the way to the end.
Yeah, they do, because I think it comes down to coaching and quarterbacking a lot in the playoffs. And
Big time.
Interesting. I mean, you just look at the way the NFC sets up. They would go into it, and I'm trying to just run through all of the division leaders in my head. they would go into it with the quarterback that has the most playoff pedigree, which is really weird to be saying about a guy that started his career with the Lions. But it's probably him or Jared Goff, I guess. But it's probably Stafford because he got to the Super Bowl and won it. So you'd go in with a coach and a quarterback that have been there and done it before. Cooper Kupp has been there and done it before. Puka Nacua has come back and I think has transformed that offense. And they've got young pass rushers between Turner and Jared Verse that are making some things happen for them up front. So, yes, I think that would be a team that, I mean, you're kind of always looking for the team that nobody wants to play.
Right.
They would be a candidate for that, I would think.
They almost beat the Lions early in the year, went to overtime. They had them beat, and they kind of blew it.
That's the game right now that is flipping the division standings because if they end up tied, the common opponents thing, that game, the fact that the Lions beat them and the Vikings did not is what's flipping it right now.
And for the Lions that day, well, they had Aiden Hutchinson, they had Alex Anzalone, they had all their dogs.
Yep.
But with the Rams, you know, let's just play it out and like say where they are now. They kind of finish close to where they are. Well, then they may be going to Lincoln Financial eventually to face an Eagles team where they've won 9 in a row. And I know you read all the NFL stories, so I'm sure you know this. But after the victory against Carolina, A.J. Brown's like, what do you think of the offense? Passing needs to be better.
Yeah.
I mean, he's getting after it a little bit.
Yep.
And then yesterday on WIP radio, Brandon Graham, bona fide team leader, goes after A.J. Brown. Saying, paraphrasing, and you can read this at ProFootballTalk.com. I'm not laying it out with exaggeration. Basically, Jalen Hurts and A.J. Brown used to be friends. They're not friends anymore. And this is infiltrating the covenant. They've won 9 in a row. Are you kidding me with this?
Yeah, there's enough weirdness there. And, I mean, it seems like Sirianni and Hurts have, you know, just judging by what you read, it seems like they've smoothed over some of their stuff. But there's a lot of that there for a team that should have every reason to think they can compete for an NFC championship.
Right.
It's a weird situation because, yes, there's just a lot of that sort of, I got to look out for my corner of things. And that's probably not the place you want to be going into the playoffs because it's going to be a talented enough NFC field. And I think you have a couple of teams between Dan Campbell in Detroit and Kevin O'Connell here that believe pretty heavily in their coaches. So if that orientation of things at the top between the coach and the quarterback and the people that are the most prominent pieces of that offense from there, I think that's a tough place to be. They have so much talent. I mean, Barkley and Smith and Brown, they have so much talent. It's odd that it's not a better situation. Yeah, like you say, Nordo, may reflect on some of the coaching.
No, it's the stability. It's the thing we've talked about with KO. Yeah. It's the stability with a lack of depth and a lack of talent in spots as this thing continues to grow. Sirianni is a mess. As good as that team is, as talented as that defense is, the picks they've invested and the offense, and they have Saquon Barkley that nobody on the planet can stop right now. And we're still dealing with this. That's a lack of stability, I think, from Sirianni's standpoint. But it's tough. They're an 11-2 team. How do you dump them?
Can't argue with that. We'll continue to chat about the NFL and the Minnesota Vikings when 9 to noon continues after this.
The Fan and Shields want to make your holiday shopping a little easier this year. Whether you're shopping for the perfect gift or treating yourself, this is a contest you don't want to miss. Head over to our contest page for your chance to win a $450 gift card. Wow. That's KFAN.com, keyword contest to enter.
Back. Thank you, Sukup. Thank you, Sukup.com. This is 9 to noon with Ben Goessling, courtesy of Standard Heating and Air and StandardHeating.com. Kevin O'Connell, head coach of the Minnesota Vikings, joins 9 to noon. About 25 minutes from now, we start talking about the Bears and the 11-2 presentation where, I don't know, I would imagine in your Twitter feed or in your emails and just like living Ben Goessling's life, if people want to talk to you about the Vikings, what are you getting more? how far can they go, or what's next for Darnold? Because I was at Lions Tap last night, and I got both.
Yep,
I caught 2 strays. It's like there were strays to be had. Yep. I caught 2. How far can they take it, Alan? How about them Queens? How far can they take it, Alan?
Yep.
Or what's next for Darnold? Do you get them both?
Yes, you get them both. And in fact, I do this Vikings big question video every week, and I'm going to do it today on Darnold because this question is coming up a lot more. I think especially after that game, especially after the way he's played.
But it's a dirty talker.
It is. I mean, it
gets you in the weeds. It's just not time.
No, it's not. But it's coming up enough. I think it's time. I'm going to put my actuary hat on, put my accountant hat on for a minute, and say, hey, here's the reason I don't think this is that tough of a question. I mean,
well, can you share now, or are you stepping on the YouTube?
No, I can share it now.
You're stepping on the YouTube, though, and the publisher may be listening.
It's fine.
What's the publisher's name again?
Steve Grove.
Hi, Steve.
Hi, Steve. How you doing?
Mm-hmm.
I think
met him at the airport, though.
Yes,
very nice man.
Yep. I think the reason for this not being that difficult, it's tricky because if Darnold goes and plays at an MVP level and wins a Super Bowl, I think that changes things a little bit. But it is tough with the financial situation because they are set up in a way that is reflecting that they expect to have a quarterback playing at a fairly cheap salary. When you pay Justin Jefferson like a quarterback, when you have the money that they do, they signed Darisaw. They've signed Hawkinson, obviously. Mm-hmm. There are a lot of these long-term contracts, and I think there are probably going to be more coming. Byron Murphy, I wrote about this today, I think is a pretty big priority to bring back, and that will not be cheap either.
Yeah.
But
Team's got 35, 36 free agents in March.
Yeah.
Jeez. Ton of guys.
It's a lot. I mean, think about the number of one. Yeah.
Mostly?
Think about all the guys on one-year deals. I mean, Gilmore, Murphy's a free agent. That's void years. Aaron Jones, Darnold, obviously. You can keep going down the line. Some of the role players, Jihad Ward, Grugier Hill, all these guys are free agents. So you have to make some decisions on some of those guys. You have to fill out the roster with not a ton of draft picks.
Because you don't have draft picks to do some of that replenishing.
Yep. Yeah. So there's a lot of that stuff. And I think the way this sets up, it just looks like they're constructing themselves around the idea that they're not going to have a big bill at quarterback for a while. There's maybe a way to do it, but I think first-round picks at quarterback typically play, and I think they were excited enough about McCarthy that it's a weird situation. It's a little bit like 2018 where you go on a run with a guy that you're not expecting to be the long-term solution. Sorry, 2017 going into 2018, and then what do you do? But I think the fact that McCarthy comes with the cheap bill and the fact that they're excited enough about him, I think it's going to be him. I think that's part of the reason Daniel Jones is here.
It sounds like you're trying to talk yourself into this.
I'm trying to talk listeners into saying this is not as crazy as it may seem given the way that Darnold is playing. I just think the way they're set up.
But that's why it's a dirty talker.
Sure.
Because if they get to the NFC Championship game and he's okay.
Yeah.
And he's having an historic Minnesota Vikings season.
Yeah, he is.
So, I mean, when you go 10 games in a season with a passer rating of 100 or more, and you pass Culpepper and Favre, who each did it 9 times, well, that's one thing. 5 for the first time. You tweeted or wrote 5 touchdowns in a game for the first time since Dante, I think.
Since 04.
Since back then.
Did it 3 times in 04, by the way.
Wow. Yep. And lost the MVP to Peyton Manning.
Who had more touchdowns.
Right. But with Sam, another layer of it for me that makes it a dirty talker is, I mean, I'm gonna franchise you, man.
Sure.
I mean, it's $38 million, and guess what? Andrew, Barry, and Kevin probably would like you on this franchise number, and you guys can deal with it later. You can trade. Yeah. You can trade the franchise. You can trade him franchised, right?
That is an option. Yes.
And unless there's language in his contract saying where he says you can't do that,
which I don't think there is.
Which there isn't. Right. I would believe
he can be tagged.
So you tag him and keep him. You tag him or trade him and trade him. But the dirty side to that is this is the one time in his life outside of being drafted 3rd overall in 2018. He's sitting on a whopper.
He is.
Well, 38's a whopper, but it ain't the whopper of all whoppers.
It's not market rate whopper.
Well, there's a little dirty side to that too.
Yeah, there is.
This thing sucks.
Yeah, it's a weird situation. It's not one that I think anybody really expected to be, and they were optimistic about what he could be. in their wildest dreams, would they have expected this, where he's getting MVP chance on December 8th? I think that would have been a hard one to say, yeah, that we totally think that's going to happen. The thing that makes it tricky is the way he's playing. The thing that I think the original plan is, hey, this is a one-year thing. We'll help you get kind of the narrative reframed around your career, help you go play well enough that you can go out and get another swing at a payday, and then it's J.J. McCarthy's show. I really think that's how it's going to go. Things can change. But then
J.J. got hurt.
J.J. got hurt.
That changes it a little.
It does change it a little.
And Sam goes lights out.
Yeah, it's a tricky situation.
But see, Sam has gone lights out.
Sounds like you're trying to talk yourself into him being back.
No, I believe he will be back.
Okay.
I mean, if I were to guess right now, if it's a heaven or hell equation and I have to lay something out right now, then I'm saying he'll be back. And I don't know how.
The money works.
Okay, well, what I believe is more of an A topic for this team than the future of Sam Darnold. And I looked for this yesterday, and it's not anything I'm going to text on. You may know. When's O'Connell's deal up? End of 25?
End of 25.
Okay, that's kind of what I surmised.
Yep.
You're really going to let him go into 25 without a new deal? Come on. No, that's the A topic.
Yep.
That's the A topic, is getting him squared away with what he wants, because he's proven leadership, acumen, the whole thing, and then let him with Goessling, let them make that decision. Because if you win playoff games with Sam Darnold and you let him walk, and the rookie comes in and gets hurt, or the Daniel Jones bid ain't great, and you win 8 games, you better have that deal.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying?
Yes, absolutely.
So that's the order. It's not Darnold, everything else. It's O'Connell, everything else.
Yeah, but that can happen between end of season and March, whatever.
Same with Darnold.
Yeah. I mean,
the timing's the same.
But you could get O'Connell done between the end of the season and the start of free agency, and then make the decision from there in terms of how you lay the quarterback situation out. There's enough time, I think, to get O'Connell done first.
Right, but I mean,
then go to Darnold later.
O'Connell and most coaches would get the organization squared away. They would go thy before I.
Sure.
But I'm saying that if the I is not squared away, that plays into the decision on the thy.
Yep.
I got you. See what I'm saying?
Yep, I got you there.
I mean, I need this whatever laid out, because I'm going to make this move here.
Yep.
And he just set 19 records, but I'm not going to strap you 38. We're certainly not going to strap you 125 guaranteed.
Right.
And we have the big horse in the barn. There's a reason we went and got the Duke kid. I want to roll with that plan.
Yeah.
But to roll with that plan, I think it's fair that I'm not a free agent into the start of 2025.
Don't make me have to make decisions with my job at the forefront of it. I mean, that's what you're saying. I got you there, because we've seen that before. We saw that happen, I think, with the end of Zimmer and Spielman, where they're signing guys saying, hey, we got to keep this thing together and win now. I think that's totally fair. I don't think we'll end up in that spot, but yes, if that changes the motivation, I see that.
But just listen to all the tentacles. It's so dirty. This thing's so dirty.
Yeah,
I mean, it's involving everybody's livelihood and their money and just.
Well, you mentioned market value for Sam. Is there any self-awareness on his part from the standpoint that there's a reason that he's having the year that he's having here? Because there's two things, even going back to the question you asked and the smile and the one-word answer. Kevin O'Connell, does he believe, I got what I got out of Kirk, and 2023 looks vastly different if the Achilles doesn't pop with Kirk at Lambeau.
Yep.
And now I've gotten what I wanted to get out to, playing well above the waterline with Sam Darnold. I can do that with a rookie. I can bring Daniel Jones to some level of competence. And so I'm interested where the head coach's head at is on that, because I personally, I'm not worried about O'Connell's deal at all. I believe that's definitely an A topic, as PA said. I think that'll be handled. And then they make these decisions. But I'm just looking at the way O'Connell views his ability now that effectively he's gone 2 for 2 in 3 seasons here with 2 different quarterbacks. And does he believe that he can go 3 for 3 and potentially 4 for 4, bringing Jones and making that a tandem of options? And then the quarterback self-awareness in terms of, I can go get $100 million from Vegas.
Yep.
Will I have the same tools and the abilities of Vegas? I'm just interested in that.
Yeah, there's all of that stuff too. Do I want to go, how far out on a bridge do I want to put myself? That's, I think, a question for everybody involved here.
Elite work. Thank you very much. And,
good discussion.
And it was fun.
Yeah.
And happy holidays to you and your family.
Yes.
See you soon.
To you as well. Thanks.
Thank you. Ben Goessling, Standard Heating and Air, standardheating.com, and we'll be right back.
Ben.
Minnesota Wild are red hot to start the season. Don't miss out on seeing them in action. Tickets are available now at wild.com/hockey tickets. That's wild.com/hockey tickets.
What you got up your sleeve over there before I head over to the Vikings Entertainment Network television studio, where they will film X's and O's with Kevin O'Connell for Vikings.com. I think we have a live audience in there today, and we look forward to that. And Norda will be here in the TCO radio studio. But for now, what you got?
Well, it's News to Nord, and it's brought to you by The Casino at Canterbury Park, CanterburyPark.com for poker, blackjack, and table games all year round, having sips at chips, NFL Pick'em game on Thursdays, and, of course, a live racing season 2025 we're patiently awaiting just months from now. Let's start with the Minnesota Wild. They are in Utah tonight, so we're going to get our first look, at least against the Minnesota Wild, the Utah Hockey Club. I'm still waiting to find out what their nickname is and when that'll be unveiled. But for now, it's the Arizona Coyotes have moved north, somewhat,
and are not coming back. Did you know that? I didn't know that.
Yeah, it's all done. Yeah.
I'm the last. Okay, I thought they were like building a new arena because they just played in Tempe, where the Sun Devils, Arizona State University,
5,000 seat college stadium.
So they're gone. So I'm like, oh, okay, cool. They're a new building coming. No, they're gone.
Yeah,
it's over, Johnny. I didn't know that till this weekend.
Well, I don't know what the issues are in terms of it's either the city of Glendale, maybe it's Phoenix in particular. But whether it was the mayor or the city council, et cetera, I think they'd been working on for the better part of a decade trying to get that new arena that you're talking about.
Yeah.
Couldn't get the money that they wanted associated with that. So now they're up in Utah, but it's still Clayton Keller. It's Logan Cooley, Shane Doan's son, Josh. I don't even know if he's up and playing on a nightly basis.
But Shane Doan as a kid in the NHL already?
Yeah, like 21, 22. I don't know how much he's played and if he's truly in the mix every night. But the thing with Utah, they're actually not awful. So
I know.
They're middle of the pack in the Central. Your Minnesota Wild, meanwhile, are
Let me ask you a question.
Yeah.
What color are their uniforms, their sweaters?
They're white.
Okay.
And then I think it's like an aqua blue. It's a sky blue type of thing.
I have no idea what they look like.
Well, I think I don't know this for sure. Again, I feel bad. Text line and someone can correct me. I don't know if it was like fans could submit like potential logo bits and how they've done the whole thing out there.
Yeah.
But there's a nickname on the horizon, I think. I just don't know what the hell it is.
Yeah, see, the thing is, their marketing department, they had a slogan trying to sell out the arena. You made the team. But the problem is the team was so bad that people actually tried out and made the team.
That's correct.
So it's just weird.
So the guy that runs the Zamboni is actually a third-line center in the lineup tonight as well. But it's an 8:30 p.m.-ish puck drop right here on your home for Wild Hockey, The Fan. We're all going through NBA withdrawal because the Howl don't play again until Friday against Lake Show as this NBA Cup goes underway. It's
this week, if you're looking to watch some NBA games, this week sucks with the NBA Cup.
Yeah, it's a doubleheader. Do you care about the Cup?
Well,
it's already a thing. I think it's kind of cool.
You see, we were in with the football team in Las Vegas during the Cup championship last year.
Yeah.
Spearfish went to the game to watch his beloved Lakers, I think, win it, or certainly play in it.
The Lakers did win the in-season Cup.
Spearfish, so like our game was the next day right next to where the Cup was taking place. Vegas was on fire for that Friday football. Oh, you were there too.
Oh, are you kidding me?
Yeah, you were there too. So it was NBA Cup bit actually had some steam behind it with like people coming into town and stuff.
I mean, not everybody who listens has ever been to Vegas, but many certainly have. And it's always, there's a hustle and a bustle and an event of some sort happening at all times. But the confluence of an NFL game, Vikings and Vegas, and Vikings fans travel well. And then you had, I think there was like a national rodeo bit. taking
Maybe.
place. Everybody, I mean, you were bouncing off of 10-gallon Stetsons everywhere,
and the
in-season cup,
and they just had opened Vegas Boulevard and Koval and Paradise and all those ancillary streets because they had that Formula One thing.
That's right.
That ended right before you got there, and all the streets were closed and everything.
No, it was as busy as I've ever seen Las Vegas, and but the Minnesota Timberwolves on the chill, and everybody watching. I guess the NBA in-season cup this week.
Yeah,
fantasy hoops players, Gleeman involved. Everyone's there's weeping and gnashing of teeth.
I mean, just because we're up against it here, but to answer your question, yes, I am into the cup games when you get down to like the 8 who have a chance to win it. Don't forget with the NBA Cup, if you win it, every player on the team gets $500,000.
Right.
Well, that really, really matters to a lot of players on these teams. You know, whether you're the richest of the rich and you're trying to take care of the end of the bench, or you're the end of the bench and $500,000 before taxes could really, really answer some questions for you. The level of play for the Final Four and certain teams up to this week, it's better than regular season basketball. They just play harder, longer, trying to get that chip.
Yeah, Steph Curry, he probably doesn't care about the $500,000, but he's playing the Rockets on Wednesday.
He's still trying to pronounce the Podziemski.
The rest of his team. Cincinnati Bengals beat the Cowboys last night, and frankly, both teams, of course, their seasons appear to be ended, and the bit doesn't appear to be clicking well with Burrow and other than Jamar Chase and the Bengals, but they do pull out the victory for the clomp-laden Cowboys. That is News du Nord, brought to you by The Casino at Canterbury Park, truncated as it is. Remember, CanterburyPark.com, your favorite spot in Shakopee. And just pumped in front of a live studio audience. You're going to get to talk to Kevin O'Connell here around the corner. That's sweet.
It's coming up soon. You'll be able to watch it back at Vikings.com or listen to it on KFAN. But the X's and O's and weekly chat with Minnesota Vikings head coach Kevin O'Connell is coming up next from Eagan on FM 100.3 KFAN.